All right, and now we move on to the next segment of our bulletin on the table. Now, over to you, Otto.
Well, thank you very much, Shoida. You have a great evening, yeah?
Thank you.
Now, good evening to you, everyone who's watching in right now. I'm Otto Othman, and of course, in this segment, it's called Anything to Do about Budget 2024. And coming up soon on the October 13th, I believe, yes. So let's take a look at what we can expect or predict from the upcoming budget. And live with us in the studio tonight is Senior Lecturer of Putra Business School, Associate Professor Dr. Ida Muhammad Yassin. Welcome to the studio, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
I think it's been quite a pleasure, and you have been with us for quite some time as well, right? Talking about this particular topic as well.
Yeah.
Now, we want to know from you, actually, we'll start off with the first question, Doctor. What can we expect from the upcoming budget announcement? Will the Prime Minister bring in a lot more, or shall it be much more less than previously, which was 388.1 million ringgit?
I would expect it should be more, also in this case. You know, because the data that we have is actually on nominal data. And then from the economics point of view, the more accurate measure is a real GDP. So I believe that number is nominal GDP, in which it includes inflation for that matter. So of course, to answer your question, more.
More. How much more do you think?
Probably about 15% more.
15% more. That ambitious. I'm quite sure. All right. Now, which ministry do you think should we be getting the much of the bulk of the budget?
Okay. From the past, it is always education and health. These two.
Why do you think that is?
Because for Malaysia, we focus on the development of the country. So these two ministries, education and health, is the most important to us. Unlike some other country, Otto, they may focus more on this security and probably their budget more of a defense. But of course, for us, we have a defense budget, but not as much as education and also health, because that is our focus. At the end of the day, there is no right or wrong in this matter. It's actually up to the government, up to the country, you know, to choose their pathway. So our pathway in Malaysia is always to focus on the development of education and healthcare. And I would believe that in the coming budget for next year, we will focus on these two as well.
Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic becoming a thing, you know, of yesteryears, should the Health Ministry be given extra allocation like previous years as well?
Of course, during pandemic of COVID-19, we used that budget for Ministry of Health to take care of this COVID. But now, if we give more budget to the Ministry of Health, it's not for COVID anymore, but it's more of development. For example, maintenance of the pusat kesihatan. We have all this in the rural area especially, right? So we need maintenance, because sometimes we have that, but without the maintenance. So if the budget is more for the Ministry of Health this time, I would believe that it should be for the development or for the people itself.
Now, according to Open Department of Statistics Malaysia, our inflation is at 2.0% as of August 2023. Now, unemployment is at 3.4% as of July this year as well. And our GDP growth is in the second quarter this year is at 2.9%. Now, having said that, the World Bank also recently cut Malaysia's 2023 GDP growth to 3.9% from 4.3%. Now, with all these figures, will you say that we'll still have a sustainable economy?
I'm confident that for this year and for the coming year, we still have positive growth for GDP, gross domestic product, because there is no instances, I mean, as long as there is no particular instances that make our economy stop, you know. So I would confident that it will be positive, but the question is how much. So just now you mentioned about the figure World Bank has actually reduced in terms of the expectation, but to me, I mean, personally, I still believe that about 3 to 4%. Of course, it depends on what happened outside Malaysia, because we are a trading nation. We export our products as well. So whatever happened in other countries will affect us. I mean, we cannot avoid that. But still, I believe that with the figure that you have, our unemployment figure is actually very low. I mean, 3 to 4% unemployment rate we can consider as full employment, because there are a group of people in which they are not going for work due to some reason, probably change a job and so on. So from the economic perspective, 3 to 4% unemployment rate is considered full employment. Now another figure is the inflation. Our inflation is around maybe 3% in this case. It's rather lower, I would say, because the government also gives some sort of
incentive.
Yes, yes, help, you know, because otherwise this makes our inflation rate actually reduce without the help from the government. I don't think we can maintain that, because all over the world the issue of inflation is something in which happening, and all countries are actually facing it, not just Malaysia.
Now, do you think that Malaysians actually take for granted these certain issues, situations, right? Do you think they take for granted? Like most people wouldn't see that actually Malaysia's petrol is like, oh, 2 ringgit 5 cent or 2 ringgit 50 cent.
Yes.
It's not that much compared to other countries as well, right?
Yes, yes. Because we have that subsidy, sometimes we didn't realize, we take for granted for that matter. Even our electricity, right, is being subsidized to some extent. And so in other countries, it's much more expensive, of course.
There we go. Now, did we generate enough revenue in the year 2023 so far? And is there any need for an obviously extra revenue stream?
Yeah, this is a good question. Somehow when we talk about budget or Otto, at one hand we say that we want to do so many things. We would like to give money to so many parties, so many initiatives and so on in which require money, right? But on the other hand, we need to know that we need to generate income as well. Because at the end of the day, if the income is not enough and the expenditure is more, we go for that. We don't want to have a lot of that as well, right? So this is the dilemma, I think, that we need to handle, because at one end the rakyat says we want this and that. On the other hand, the government need to find extra income for that matter.
Now, speaking of extra income, our Prime Minister and his entourage recently successfully working visit to United Arab Emirates, UAE, enough for Malaysia to reap great benefits, especially in terms of investment from the Gulf country. Now, how do you communicate budget performance and financial insights to non-financial stakeholders? How did he do that and manage to get more income stream for our country?
We are a trading nation in which we are going to export our product. For example, there are manufacturing products that we export, and we export commodity palm oil. We are the second largest palm oil producer in the world. So, of course, at the same time, we import as much. So, in this case, going for United Arab Emirates is something in which is a good move, of course, not just UAE, in other market as well, because we would like to expand our market. At the same time, we would like to invite the investors from UAE to come in, because we need foreign direct investment in our country so that we can stimulate growth of our economy. So it is a good move, and what I want to say is that it's not just UAE, much more I think we should do so that we can diversify the market that we are in, and we can invite investors as well to come.
Now, another question over here that I have here. Manufacturing seems to be a key engine of growth for Malaysia, according to the new Industrial Master Plan 2030. More than 20% contribution to our GDP, actually, manufacturing. So with a window of 7 years, are we ready for such a very ambitious economical, undertaking?
I believe we can. You know why, Otto? Because in 1990s, we already have more than 20% contribution of manufacturing sector to the economy at that time. But slowly, of course, it's much smaller because we focus on services. I'm talking about percentage, because at that time, if you look at the value, of course, the value is low. We are talking about percentage now. So if you're asking whether we can achieve this 20% contribution to the GDP by the manufacturing sector, I believe believe we can do it, but of course, the plan that we have, we need to monitor for that matter. And we have new industry in manufacturing whereby it can give us, which is different from 1990s. In 1990s, I think manufacturing sector drive by electrical and electronic sector, and we still have good electrical and electronic sector in Malaysia. And add on to that, we have aerospace, automotive still. We are in this region, of course, and these are the things that which is new, and we are going into e-commerce, and which I think
digitalization as well.
Yes, it is. It will help. Certainly.
And even EV as well, electrical vehicles are already in sale here in Malaysia as well.
Yes.
So do you think having this kind of investments here in Malaysia, will it grow even larger? And like I said, are we really that ready? 7 years before 2030, are we really ready to undertake all these kinds of issues that might arise in these kind of topics? Are we really ready?
We need to move fast. Along the way.
That's the only answer.
Along the way in that 7 years to achieve what we want, of course, it is a bumpy ride anyway. So we need to handle that efficiently. There is no pathway in which it's so smooth. In every move we make, it is always a challenge. It is for us on how we want to handle this as much. There are many challenges, Otto, in this case. It can be challenges from the people itself. The way we work can be the challenges in terms of the regulation. Sometimes the regulation didn't support, so we need to handle that as well.
Do you think there's any gap between working culture and the work culture? Do you think there's a difference between the culture of Malaysian, how they work, and what work priorities have we had already? Our work culture, simple as that. Do we have any difference back then and now?
Yes, it is. Due to time, nowadays, if you talk about Gen Y, in which the young generation like you too, as compared to me in Gen X, the culture is different. In fact, we can see some of the people, the employees now, if they are young, they would prefer something like working, flexible working hours kind of thing. Unlike before, it's always 8 to 5. But not for the young ones. They prefer flexible working hours.
Sure.
And of course, we can support that if we have this digitalization.
Thank you very much, Doctor. It seems that we don't have much time. So your wish list for Budget 2023?
There are so many, but I only would highlight two or two. One is about the agriculture, in which it's related to food, because when we talk about the high price of food and so on, for us, we import a lot of food from overseas. I think it amounted to 60 billion a year.
All right. So thank you very much. I guess that's all the time we have. And thank you so much for the valuable time and inputs as well. And that wraps up Malaysia Tonight. I'm Otto Othman together with Syahida Arifin. Malaysia Madani, take up perpaduan, penuhi harapan. Thank you for watching.